Thank you, Christy. It's lovely to be with you today. So welcome to our webinar, Teaching Coding and Creativity with GameMaker. I hope you're all keeping safe and well. And today we're going to be looking at the different methods of teaching GameMaker at different stages as students progress through their education. We're also, during the webinar, going to talk about the COVID support that we're currently providing, because I know that that's very important to a lot of people. So to the agenda, we're going to start with a brief intro to GameMaker, and then we'll move over to look at how educators' experiences of teaching GameMaker, and this is from some research that we did back in November and also a year ago. We also are going to look at teaching game design, an introduction into generally how it's approached by teachers, and then we're going to look at how it's taught at different stages of student development, and we'll also look at how it's going to be taught in a classroom setting, and I know a lot of people are still having to teach where the students are learning from home as well. So we're going to look at what resources we have available to support that. We'll go into how licensing works, and we'll hit the COVID learning support, then data privacy and licensing, and then we'll finish up with a Q&A. So before we get to the educator survey, what we're going to look at here is an overview of GameMaker Studio 2. So it was first developed in 1999, so 21 years ago, 22 years ago now, for use in education by Professor Mark Overmars. It's a 2D game making tool, which makes it really easy to pick up, takes out a lot of complexity. We have a drag and drop system, which is great for teaching the fundamentals of coding before transitioning into the more technically complex elements of coding. Drag and drop translates to a C-based custom language, which is called GameMaker language. The GameMaker itself actually includes an image editor, sprite editor, object editor, and room editor. It also now includes sequencers, which is an animation tool. There are free educator resources, which we're going to hit on later on, and we have a large, supportive, and active community. Big studio credibility. A lot of games are made with GameMaker. Some really famous ones. The current iPad Game of the Year actually is a GameMaker game, and games can be made on mobile, console, web, and also desktop. And there's over 1,000 new users signing up every day, and most of them are complete beginners wanting to learn how to code. And actually, 60% of them will actually want a career in the games industry as well. So we sent out a questionnaire to our teachers at the start of November 2020, and the responses are consistent with when we did the same question back in 2019. What we asked was, how effective are game design lessons at teaching the following? And the top scorers, as you can see there, are learning engagement, individual confidence, teaching students how to plan, and also how to program. And there are some of the other softer areas that came out were the student-teacher bond and improvement of class behavior. Often get asked what age GameMaker is taught at. So we asked the question to our teachers, and this is what came back. So you can see that GameMaker is taught from very young ages all the way up. But most typically, we would look at teaching from age 12 through to 14 as one group, and then you tend to look at age 15 through to 16 as another group, and then from age 17 plus, you're starting to look at college and university style teaching. And so we're gonna split that down into those three groups and look at the different ways that you can approach teaching. Broadly, these are the approaches that are taken. Often step by step using a video, or make a game step by step with the teacher leading are the two popular ones. And that's what you tend to see at age 12 to 14. And then the most popular one here, the green one, which is setting a project with objectives for students to interpret. That's what we tend to see at age 15 to 16 and beyond. And this is how evaluation happens. So testing and quizzes to some extent is used, but mostly it's through observation and setting individual assignments. Are popular too, although I would imagine they've not been all that popular in the last 12 months. I can imagine that with obviously so many people working and from home, the levels of interaction that you get in a classroom obviously haven't been able to happen so much. But I would expect team assignments to become more popular once schools go back. And obviously we've got an in-class Q&A as well. We asked our teachers how teaching game design has actually improved or aided the education process at their school. And these are some of the quotes we got. The kids are happier in class, there aren't behavior problems like in other classes. Games require creatives and tech teams to work together with a common goal to solve. While they build games, they also build friendships, learn to overcome hardships, and create something meaningful. My students very much enjoy the game design units that I teach. Personally, I think that game design is effective at improving problem solving, attention to detail, and teamwork. The students have learned to solve complex or abstract problems by themselves. The content provides a sufficient challenge and helps develop persistence and attention to detail. And it has certainly enabled some students who are otherwise disengaged from the curriculum to re-engage. And there's a link here at the bottom which takes you through to an article which goes into more detail around these quotes. You'll notice that, that there'll be some links in this presentation. So we'll be providing the presentation at the end. Christy will be passing that over to everyone who's participated today. And those links will obviously work. So the next question we asked was, what aspects of learning game design do the students actually enjoy the most? And we got definitely the end where they finally tried their own game, even if it was the most simple game in the world. Learning to overcome challenges and having a working program. The students love to show their parents what they have made by themselves. They are very proud if they get ideas done and improve their skills. The feeling of accomplishment when completing a game and watching others play the games that they built. Just being able to create an original game, then watch their peers play the game is such a high for these kids. To be able to say, I made that, is a real ego boost. Creating games, making rapid progress in a short span of time. Thinking up new games, brainstorming is a pain to get students to do, but not when it involves game design, and seeing their ideas take shape. So looking at different teaching styles and beginning at age 12 to 14, where curriculums are mainly focused on teaching students the fundamental of coding and giving them engaging ways to enable them to put that into practice. And to this end, we created space bubbles for an education environment. So there's a list here of everything included in the space in the materials. Space Bubbles is a drag and drop project based scheme of work where students work on one project over the course of 8 one-hour lessons, with 30 minutes in each lesson being spent on learning coding, and then 30 minutes being spent on making the Space Bubbles game itself. Over those lessons, students are taught how to program by recreating their own version of the game, and they do that using video tutorials. It's aimed at children aged 12 to 14, but can be used for older and younger children. And it's developed by Terry Watt, who is a teacher and formerly a game designer. In a home learning environment, the lessons can be taught using Zoom or similar, and the students can progress using the video tutorials. They're able to export their game, submit their game for evaluation by the teacher, and complete their self-assessment forms. Each lesson has its own starter project, so if a student gets stuck, they can move on to the starter project for the next lesson if that's a problem. So there's a link here which takes you through to those materials, and you can just download all of them. This is available completely free of charge. The curriculum topics include programming, key concepts and principles, sequence selection statement, modeling real-world problems, physical systems, and that's actually done using the homeworks that we provide. And for assessment, there's a teacher review, self-review, and peer review table that can be completed. So I'm just going to bring over Space Bubbles here so you can actually see the game, and I'm going to play it for a few minutes and point out some of the interesting elements within it. So you can see my little craft at the bottom, and there's bubbles coming towards me. You've got power-ups here, like the one I've just got. I've got a speed upgrade. You can pop bubbles with your gamma rays, and what you can see is that we're heading towards a warp gate, and that's if you look in the top middle, you can see how far away that is. We've got lives, so I've just lost a life there, and you saw a nice graphic display where there were lots of particles. And you can see some more particles behind the craft as it's moving. You can see in the top left-hand corner that there are lives that I have. So you can see how many times I lose my life, and you can see the countdown towards the warp gate, and you can see that I'm slowly building up a score. So we've still got quite a way. You can see some of these bubbles have different characteristics. They'll chase me around, or some of the rocks will move around and try and follow me around. And we include some tuition on how to do that. And some of the bubbles are coming towards me with multiple lives. And actually, we're just seeing the. I'm going to see if I can make it. Yeah, I escaped. Yay. There we go. Just close that down. So that's Space Bubbles. That's the game that you can make using the free materials that we provide. For home learning at this age, we also have some materials, video tutorials, which are designed to try and get young people up and running really quickly. And so the first one is a similar sort of game. It's called Space Rocks, and what's included in that there we have a drag and drop and a GameMaker language version, and there's an intro to GameMaker, how to use it, and programming, and they cover setting up and moving, so moving your craft, attacking and collisions, setting up the scores and lives and effects. And then there's also some sound effects and some polish that's added in afterwards as well. And this is designed to be made in only an hour. So this is nice and quick to make. It's a really good way to get students started. We then provide for home learning space mods where you can take the original Space Rocks game and actually start to bring in some really nice effects, to power ups, enemy ships, cameras, parallax, which is a sort of a 3D layered background effect, and also you can see particles and screen shake. And you can see from this comment here that what we see is a lot of young people will make the first version of Space Rocks, and then they get into this one, and then they start to build the confidence to be able to go and make changes to the game and understand how the game works and how making games work. So they start to have the confidence to go and customize the game, and then from that point on they can move on and start making their own games. This is another home learning project that we've got called Breakthrough, which is a brick buster game where you're bouncing the ball up into the cluster of bricks, and it comes down and breaks the bricks. So that's a very different approach. Again, similarly, it's in GameMaker language and in drag and drop. And looking at high school, from the age of 15 to 16, we tend to see school curriculums focusing more on the creative application of coding rather than actually learning coding itself. So we see more project-based tutorials, and you can set a theme here and see how your students interpret it based on a marking scheme. So a marking scheme can include things like interpretation of the theme, complexity or functionality used, playability, coding practice, and creativity. And what we've got in this slide here are resources for tools, artwork, audio, etc., that can be used as the basis for game creation. There's an interesting one at the bottom, which is the Global Game Jam resources. They run the world's largest game jam, which is when people get together and create a game in a short space of time. This one takes place over 3 days, and they have a load of free resources that people can use. The Kenny ones are really good as well. There's some really good free assets, free graphics assets in Kenny as well. But you'll receive these slides, so you can check those out when you get those. This is our learning hub on our website. So you can just go in there and access all of these tutorials in one place. It's yoyogames.com/learn. And we've included all of our own tutorials and also some of those from our community. Where you've got aged 15 to 16 students who are trying to build a game based on a theme, then one of the things that they really need is some inspiration, different types of things that they can do. And we've got blog articles that can provide just that inspiration. And so we provide tutorials on certain types of functionality or things that you can do within GameMaker. But we also get some of our game developers to provide tutorials. Quite often what you'll see is they'll release a game, and then they'll provide us with some information on how they actually achieved certain aspects of that game, how they created that within GameMaker, or how they approached the game design process. And that can be really inspirational for young people to see those. And those are all available on yoyogames.com/blog. What we've got here is YouTube. We have as I mentioned at the start, we have a really big community of people who just love making tutorials and love making games. But you can just go into YouTube and type in a GameMaker search. So in this one, we've got GameMaker Space Tutorials, and you'll see lots of ideas about how to implement different things within GameMaker. So for the slightly older students, this again can be a real source of inspiration. There's also a manual, so we document all of the features within GameMaker with lots of examples and lots of pictures to show how you can do certain things within GameMaker. And within GameMaker itself, we've got some written tutorials that you have access to as well, that cover all of the different tools that we have: image editor, object editor, room editor, sprite editor, tileset editor, workspaces, and the debugger as well. We have a tutorial that we use for, which really is sort of an intermediate tutorial. Starts off probably at quite a beginner level for the first 2 videos, and it shows you how to make a platformer game, and all the assets for that are included there, and the artwork you can see there is the game that's actually made. And this has been put together with one of our community members, Sean Spalding, and the way it's been designed is that it then dovetails into Sean's own complete platformer game tutorials, and that goes into a lot more detail. So that's 27 videos. So you'll never be short of content there for the students who are really into it and want to go and make a much more detailed platformer game. As you start to get older, students, so those at college or university, age 17 plus, we've got some new education materials, and these are due to go live for release on the 1st of April. And this enables you to build a role-playing game called Little Town. And this is GameMaker language based. And it's often used at this sort of age group for artists, or it can be used, I suppose, for artists who want to be able to apply their art in a game design format, so you can learn very quickly how to make the game, and then they can focus on the art. And it can also be used as a really good grounding for students who are starting out a university course or college course on game design, based for them to be able to pick up the core basics, often before moving on to some of the 3D tools. So this is a picture of Little Town and how it looks actually within the GameMaker IDE. We also, for the more advanced students, we have Sequence, which is an animation tool. And so we've got some basic tutorials on sequences, and in the next probably 6 weeks, we're expecting to see a whole new set of tools, videos becoming available. And that we have a really strong community. We have a forum where you can just go in and ask the guys questions, and they get back to you fairly quickly. And it's really interactive, and it's a great place to try out some ideas and ask for some help or get some views on how to approach things. Really interactive. So moving on to the licensing options, there are three different licenses that we have. There's Educator, which is desktop, Windows, Mac, and Linux, and these are the platforms that it exports to. There's Educator Plus, which also includes HTML5, our web license, and then Achiever, which is more often used at college and university, where it enables you to export to mobile platform, Android and iOS. UWP, which is a way of actually getting your game onto the Xbox One Creator Program. And we've got the PlayStation 4 license. And we're pleased to say that actually we announced recently that we've got the we're going to be releasing soon, it's in beta at the moment, the next gen consoles as well, so Xbox XS and PlayStation 5. Now, one thing to mention about GameMaker is that GameMaker can be used on Mac or a PC. It can't yet be used on a Chromebook, although it's something that we're working on right now. So the team are working on trying to get it ready for Chromebook, but it's not yet able to be used on Chromebook. We ran a questionnaire back in November, so it's a little bit out of date now, but it was interesting to see at that time only 5% of teachers were affected by COVID. So you can see that there was a lot of different ways in which people were affected. So we've been following this all the way through and providing support for license support to enable users to work from home. The way that the licensing works with GameMaker is that it's based on concurrent use. So what that often means in a school situation is that where you have a PC lab, you'll buy one license for each PC, and then you've got multiple classes that can go in and use those licenses on those PCs. You can occasionally use them, provide those licenses so the students can log in from other locations, such as if you've got a club that happens in a different place, and then you can bring those licenses back in. So obviously with COVID and everyone needing to learn from home, what we did was we provide for every paid seat license that you have, we actually enable 5 students to log into that simultaneously. So what you can do is you can provide to all of your students the login credentials that you're using for your class, and they can then go and use those credentials simultaneously at home. And that appears to have solved the problem for all of our customers who have students who are using it from home. At the end, you'll be able to bring those licenses back and then apply them. So this applies to all licenses, and it will apply up until June the 30th of this year. We're going to obviously keep an eye on how things are progressing. We're hoping things like vaccines, etc., are going to make a big difference, and that schools are going to go back to normal as soon as they possibly can. It's literally just happened this week in the UK, where I'm based, that schools are going back, but it's been very turbulent. You can never be sure how long they're going to stay back and to what extent things are going to improve. So hopefully this will improve. But as I've said, at each stage we've kept an eye on it and provided support to teachers so that they can ensure that their students that are in a learning from home environment get the support they need. And if there's any situation that you find yourself in where you've got licenses but you feel that you don't have enough for learning from home, just contact us and we provide you with support. Next up, we're looking at privacy. Privacy over the last few years has become really important, and it's essential to us as well. So what we do is the teacher registers an account with GameMaker, and then what they do is they allocate seats anonymously. So an example that I gave you, where we're talking about a PC lab, you would allocate the the seats to each of the PCs, and the name that you might give it would be PC1, PC2, or whatever. The students, when they go and log in, just log in using the PC username and the password. They only need to log in actually about once a month. So it's not a frequent thing where every student needs to log in every time. But once they've logged in, we don't collect any data from those users. So there's the names of the students aren't collected. There's no information that the students are putting into those PCs that ever gets collected through any analytics or anything like that. We have more detail in our privacy policy, and there's a link here to that, and that details specifically the education element of the privacy policy, where it just reiterates that there's no student data collected at all at any stage. And finally, we have a special offer for attendees, where what we're providing is, if you click on that link, which Christy will provide with the slides, we'll provide you with a free teacher license, and that's a permanent desktop license that you can use, and it helps you to set up your classes, and gives you access, so you don't need to have seat licenses in place when you're just trying it out, or when you're preparing classes in your own time outside of school. So on to any questions. I'll just have a look. I can see there's something in the Q&A. Any future plans on Chromebook support? Yes, yes, we're hoping to get Chromebook support through soon. I think it's probably unlikely that it's going to be this quarter, but we're pushing to get it in some format as quickly as we possibly can. So I'm sure Studica will let everyone know as soon as Chromebook is available.
Hi, Andrew. A couple questions over here. How do the COVID licenses get applied?
Yes, so this is a question that we sometimes see asked, because it's not actually providing additional licenses. It happens in the background. So let's say you purchase your licenses. What you'll see happen there is that we just apply in the background the ability for each of those licenses to be used by 5 students simultaneously. So it allows, in a technical term for that, is it allows 5 sessions per license.
Okay, it looks like if you want to look at the Q&A, there's a few more questions that popped up in there.
Yeah, so the next one is there a way students can work collaboratively or share code to build a group project? Yes, there is. We do a lot of work on game jams where people work as a team. Actually, what you tend to see is, within a school environment, is that groups tend to work together doing different things, but working on the same core game. So you may have a team of 3 that are working on the same core game and helping each other with problem solving. There are ways in which you can go in and have it manages the content, so that different people can go in from different machines and access it and update it. This is probably a really good example of using the teacher license to get in and try and test that side of things. So you can go in and play around with that. Have a GM license, can we access the teaching videos? Yes, the teacher videos are just available for download straight off our website. If you've got the free teacher license, you can go in and do that. Or even without the teacher license, you can just go and log in, create an account, and you get a 30-day free trial. The difference is, with the free trial, you can't export. But the best thing to do is to get your free teacher license, and then it gives you as much time as you need. Any plans to add other programming language support? There's nothing we can talk to you about at this stage. There's some things bubbling away, but not something that we're in a position to announce just yet. Will this program work on iPads? You won't be able to run GameMaker on an iPad, but you can export games to an iPad.
Okay, and then Andrew, one more question. How can the students download GameMaker without creating an account?
Yes, that's a good question, particularly when you've got a lot of young people learning from home. What they can do is they can go into our website and go to yoyogames.com/education, and from that place, the first thing you see at the top of that screen is 2 links that you can download. So they don't need to create an account; they can just go straight to our website, go to that page, our education page, and click on either the download link for Mac or the download link for Windows.
Great, thank you, Andrew. It looks like that's the end of the questions. Just give it a second in case anybody wants to ask anything else. I think we've addressed all of them. So if you don't mind making the next slide come up.
Yeah, sure.
So I just wanted to thank Andrew for this presentation and thank all of you for joining us today. Just a reminder, I will be sending an email. It'll link to all the slides in the presentation. So you'll have all the links that Andrew mentioned, as well as a recording, a link to the recording. And if you do have any questions, or if you want a code, or you just need more information, you can email info@studica.com or reply to my email and we'll be happy to help you. So thank you everyone and enjoy your day.